The Bangkok arena pulsed with raw, electric energy, a sweltering pit of sweat, heat, and the sharp bite of liniment oil that stung the air. The crowd, a rowdy mix of local fight fanatics, wide-eyed tourists, and Muay Thai diehards, screamed their throats raw as the Waikra dances ended, the fighters' ancient rituals fading into the promise of raw violence. The ring, its canvas worn and stained from years of grit, stood under glaring floodlights, a brutal stage where only the toughest survived. In the VIP section, close enough to feel the ring's heat but cloaked in shadow, Jason Statham sat, unnoticed amid the chaos. His black linen shirt, damp from the humid night, clung to a frame built for battle, lean, muscular, with forearms like knotted rope bared by rolled-up sleeves. His eyes, sharp as a blade, tracked the fighters with a predator's calm, taking in every move. To the elite around him, sipping overpriced drinks and chattering about bets, he was just another face, his presence lost in the sweaty haze of the arena. In the ring, a Thai fighter named Chai, carved from muscle and scars, owned the spotlight like it was his birthright. His body was a map of brutal victories, each mark a badge, each tattoo a testament to fights won in Bangkok's gritty fight dens. In his prime, Chai was a storm, his knockouts whispered about in the city's smoky bars, his name a warning to anyone who stepped into his world. As the announcer, a wiry guy with a voice like gravel and too much hair gel, hyped the main event, Chai grabbed the mic, his English clean and sharp, honed from years on the global circuit. This is Muay Thai. Real. No Hollywood fairy tales. Actors play tough, but they break fast, he said, his voice cutting through the crowd's roar. The fans erupted, feeding off his fire, their cheers a wave of raw, primal energy. His dark eyes swept the VIP section, locking on Jason with a mocking grin. "You, movie star," he sneered, pointing straight at him. "Tough guy on screen, right? Bet you can't take one kick without crying for your stunt double. Run back to your fake fights, pretty boy." The crowd's laughter hit like sparks on dry wood, jeers flying, the arena alive with cruel delight. A dead silence fell as the spotlight swung to Jason, pinning him in its harsh glare. Whispers rippled through the stands, "Is that the action star? The movie tough guy," as recognition spread like a slow burn. Jason sat still, his face carved from stone, but his eyes burned with something dangerous, a quiet fire that promised trouble. Chai leaned on the ropes, piling on the taunts. "What's wrong, Hollywood? Scared to bleed? Go home, let real men fight." The tension coiled tight, the crowd holding its breath, waiting for Jason to crack, laugh it off, or walk away. Every second stretched, the air so thick with expectation it felt like the arena was suffocating, the humid heat pressing down like a weight. Jason stood, slow and deliberate, like a blade sliding from its sheath. The VIPs parted as he walked to the ring's edge, each step heavy with purpose, the crowd's murmurs trailing him like a shadow. He stopped, hands loose at his sides, and stared up at Chai, unflinching. "Talk's cheap," he said, his Cockney growl slicing through the noise like a knife through cloth. "Fight me. Or keep hiding behind that mic." The crowd exploded, cheers and gasps crashing together, the atmosphere electric with shock and hunger. Chai's smirk twitched, his confidence rattled by Jason's ice-cold calm, a calm that felt like the quiet before a storm breaks. The promoter, a slick hustler with a nose for spectacle, smelled a goldmine. He scrambled to the ring, whispering to the ref, then spun to the crowd, arms wide. Special exhibition. Hollywood vs. Thailand. 1 round, Muay Thai rules. The arena shook with roars, the noise deafening, but Jason raised a hand, silencing the chaos. "No circus," he said, voice low, lethal. "Your rules. My fists." Jason shed his shirt, revealing a body forged by grit, lean, scarred, no Hollywood polish, just raw muscle and old wounds that spoke of real fights. The crowd murmured, their jeers turning to whispers as they reassessed the man they dismissed as just an actor. Chai, gloved and bouncing on his toes, grinned, but a flicker of doubt shadowed his eyes, like a crack in his armor. Jason declined the gloves, wrapping his hands in worn tape with quick, practiced moves. "Bare knuckles," he told the ref, tone flat but unyielding. "Let's keep it real." The ref, a grizzled veteran who'd seen countless battles, nodded, sensing the weight of the moment. The bell rang, and the arena froze, every eye locked on the ring, the air crackling with anticipation. Chai came out like a monsoon, his low kicks snapping at Jason's legs with bone-crushing force, each one meant to break him down. The crowd leaned forward, expecting a quick kill, Chai's taunts still ringing in their ears. "Dance, movie boy," he mocked, his shin grazing Jason's thigh, leaving a red welt that burned under the lights. The tension spiked, the crowd smelling a finish, their cheers a hungry roar that shook the rafters. But Jason moved like he belonged in the ring, his footwork sharp and measured, dodging with a calm that made Chai's jaw tighten. He didn't swing wild or play to the crowd, he watched, reading Chai's rhythm like a predator stalking prey, his focus a shield against the mockery. The crowd's noise shifted, their taunts giving way to murmurs of surprise as Jason absorbed the punishment without flinching, his eyes never leaving Chai, his body language screaming control. Chai upped the taunts, his voice sharp as a blade. "What's this? Camera tricks? Hit me, pretty face." He landed a quick jab, splitting Jason's cheek, a thin red line catching the light. The crowd gasped, the air thickening with dread, would the action star fold? A knee crashed into Jason's ribs, the crack echoing like a gunshot, his breath catching in a sharp hiss. Chai laughed, circling like a wolf. "You're done, Hollywood. Crawl back to your set." The words cut deep, but Jason wasn't just a movie star. He'd grown up scrapping in London's rough streets, throwing punches in back alley brawls before the cameras ever found him. He'd trained with real fighters, not for roles but for himself, to prove he was no fake, to silence the doubts that followed him from the streets to the screen. That fire burned now, fierce and focused, a quiet rage that kept him steady as the pain screamed through his body, his ribs aching, his cheeks stinging. Jason surged forward, catching Chai in a clinch, using the Thai's own momentum to throw him off balance. He drove a knee into Chai's gut, stealing his breath in a grunt that silenced the taunts for a moment. The crowd roared, the tide turning, their shock morphing into awe as Jason pressed the attack. Chai's mocks faded as Jason's elbow slashed across his cheek, the crack of bone on bone ringing out like a bell. Chai staggered, his bravado crumbling, but he was no quitter. He came back hard, his kicks growing desperate, landing an elbow to Jason's temple that drew a collective gasp from the stands. The crowd froze, the moment teetering, Jason swayed, his vision blurring for a heartbeat. But his feet held firm, rooted by years of grit, his will a steel cable that wouldn't snap. The arena's energy shifted, the spectators sensing something extraordinary. This was no act, no stunt, this was real, raw, and undeniable. The round ticked down, seconds slipping like sand. Chai, sensing his pride on the line, went for the knockout, his fist screaming for Jason's jaw, a blow meant to end the movie boy and cement his dominance. The arena held its breath, the tension choking, every eye locked on the ring's center. Jason ducked, his reflexes like a whip, and countered with a spinning elbow, fluid yet ferocious, slamming into Chai's jaw with a sickening crunch. Sweat flew as Chai crumpled, hitting the canvas hard, his eyes dazed, his confidence shattered. The ref waved it off as the bell rang, but the crowd knew, Jason had won, not by points but by sheer, undeniable will. The arena exploded, cheers shaking the rafters, the sound a tidal wave of disbelief and respect. Jason stood, ribs screaming, his face streaked, but his head held high, his gaze unyielding. He didn't play to the crowd, didn't bask in their noise, just stared at Chai, who struggled to his feet, leaning on the ref for support. Chai's eyes met Jason's, and for the first time, there was no mockery, only respect, hard-won in the ring's brutal truth. Chai took the mic, his voice rough with exhaustion and humility. "Movie star, but true fighter," he said, each word heavy with meaning. The crowd roared louder, not just for the fight, but for the truth it carved out, a collision of worlds where a man proved his worth, strike by strike. Jason stepped from the ring, pain lacing every move, his body protesting but his presence towering. The VIPs swarmed, their phones flashing, their voices a blur of awe and opportunism, but he brushed past, needing none of their cheers. He'd silenced Chai's taunts, faced the fire of a Muay Thai beast, and walked out a hero, not because of a script, but because he'd earned it, strike for strike, in a sweltering Bangkok arena where no one could call him fake again.